Welcome to Jersey Matters. I'm Larry Menti. This week we come from downtown Trenton because in a moment I'll be talking to the executive director of the League of Municipalities about fighting for funding for the Gateway project. Also, here's an idea. Why doesn't the subway extend from New York to New Jersey? We'll talk to a former transportation secretary who's been fighting for that for a long, long time. We'll also memorialize a New Jersey artist who recently passed away at the age of 102. And it's time once again for the New Jersey Tulip Festival. We'll take you there. And now our interview with Michael Darcy, who is Executive Director of the New Jersey State League of Municipalities. The organization is part of a greater coalition fighting for infrastructure along the Northeast Corridor, including the all-important Gateway project, building another tunnel between New Jersey and New York. Here's our interview. The House Republicans are talking about using a little known mechanism called rescission, where they can actually rescind part of the federal budget that they just approved. And they specifically want to go after the $540 million that has been given to Amtrak to help start the Gateway project, building a tunnel from New Jersey to New York. Legislators from around the country, Republican legislators from other states like North Carolina and Florida, saying, why them? Why are they getting that money? It's just important in our state. What is your counter argument?
Well, the infrastructure project that they are rescinding this money from is critical infrastructure, not just for one state. It's a critical infrastructure for a system, a transportation system that runs through many states. So rescinding that money and crippling that system, that transit system, is foolhardy, really.
There's legislators from North Carolina, there's legislators from Florida. As I remember, Amtrak runs all the way down there. Right. So does it affect them?
It does, in a sense that when it affects a major portion of the country, which is an economic engine for the rest of the country, it can affect other parts of the country as well. So if an economic engine in the Northeast Corridor is crippled because its transit system's been crippled, that's going to impact economics throughout the country, yes.
One of the key arguments about the Gateway project and about fixing the Northeast Corridor is and has been from the advocates that it is such an important part of the national economy. People in Texas push back at that. People in Chicago, where there's a transportation hub, also press back. Is that a strong argument?
It's not. The Northeast Corridor contributes about 10% to the U.S. economy, the GDP. And if you're not concerned with 10% of the U.S. GDP, then I think you're being a little short-sighted. And really, I think the point of any major infrastructure improvement or maintenance or infrastructure project is to benefit the entire country. I think those benefits have been well demonstrated through the Northeast Corridor's economic production, Northeast Corridor's contribution to the United States economy. So again, we can argue over who gets a few dollars here and there, but nobody can argue over the impact of the Northeast Corridor on the U.S. economy.
Much of this, I understand, is political. So let's figure out where we're at right now, what position we're in right now. It seems like the House may get rescission, but it'll never get through the Senate. So it seems like the $540 million is there. But it would appear in the federal government that the Gateway project, going forward, the funding for it, is in some jeopardy. Is it? I mean, how critical are we at right now? What position are we at right now?
Well, the power of the purse in the federal government is with the Congress. New Jersey political structure is different, so people listening to this in New Jersey may think, well, that funding can be stopped immediately by one person. That's not the case in the federal government. So there has to be a lot more give, take, consensus building in Congress in establishing budgets and establishing dollar figures. So I would say that the potential for getting this funding through is much greater than people in New Jersey might imagine.
Getting the $540 million through, but they're talking about $58 billion for this project. That can get through?
One would hope that once you see the economic impact of not doing this, the $58 billion will seem like a reasonable investment in getting it done, yeah.
I've talked to many of the congressmen who had a meeting in the Oval Office with Donald Trump, and they said he was all in. He said, no, we got to get this done, and he was enthusiastic about the Gateway project. And they said turned around quickly,
Yeah.
and then seems like he's against the Gateway project.
Yeah.
What happened?
Your guess is as good as mine. Would not even begin to try to explain the president's thinking on various issues. But again, I'd like to put politics aside and look at the economics of the situation. And I think when that happens, the broader group of people that are involved in Congress and the economy, and you're talking major industries that are involved and impacted by this, when they start to look at the economic damage done by a break in that Northeast corridor, they're going to go to their elected representatives and tell them about the economic damage that that break would cause. It'll become quite clear what the economic issues are here. The political issues are always subject to changing tides, changing winds, and we probably don't want to rest our hopes on the political. We want to rest our hopes on the rational and economic.
And yet that has so much, that's the big part of it. You can't ignore the politics of it. And you said, I don't want to take a guess at what Donald Trump, why he's doing it, but let me take a guess and you tell me if I'm on the right track, pardon the pun. And my guess would be New Jersey's not going to vote for Donald Trump, hasn't voted for Donald Trump, a Democratic state. New York's not going to, Massachusetts not going to, Maryland's not going to. He's going to have a tough time winning Pennsylvania again. That certainly plays into it when you have Florida and North Carolina and other states that are Republican states asking for the money.
Well, those other states are also going to be asking for money for other things down the line, pardon the pun. And what they're going to want is support from New Jersey and New York and Pennsylvania and Baltimore, Maryland, and D.C., and Connecticut and Rhode Island. They're going to want support from all those states for their funding requests. That's what I mean by there will be a larger consensus as to how we share in the infrastructure money that's available.
Give me a worst case scenario. This doesn't happen. The Gateway project doesn't happen for, let's say, the next decade.
Well, you don't have to go far to see what the worst case scenario is. The Portal Bridge is a great example here in New Jersey. It's a swing type bridge. It's 107 years old. It gets stuck multiple times a month. When that happens, Northeast Corridor traffic stops. Every hour that's stuck, I believe it's a $15 million cost. So if that's not a worst case scenario, you want to get worse than that, then you're getting into shutting down tunnels when 75% of traffic on the Northeast Corridor now comes to a halt, and you cannot reopen a tunnel in a matter of a couple of hours. It's not just a stuck mechanism. Perhaps there's a tunnel that's either flooded or dangerous and can't be used. Now it's shut down for perhaps months, if not a year at a clip. And now you're doing emergency appropriations, emergency repairs, which cost far, far more than planned strategic infrastructure.
So your argument is you can either pay now or pay later, and you have to pay more if you wait.
Well, you're already paying now, by the way, when that Portal Bridge gets stuck. So that's happening already. Other infrastructure, if a bridge collapses and you shut down, something, again, you're now doing those repairs and replacements under emergency situations. It's going to happen. It's well documented by engineering studies that these things are shutting down. So,
I know I'm asking you some questions that take a crystal ball, but you see the Gateway project happening?
I do, because it's quite clear that a rational analysis of it points to any loss of that connectivity in that section of the Northeast Corridor. It's clear through a rational economic analysis that it is devastating. It's clear to governments, it's clear to the industries that use it, it's clear to the people who live in the region, and it's clear to any economist who wants to look at the damage that it causes.
Sir, Michael Darcy, thank you so much. The Executive Director of the New Jersey League of Municipalities. Jersey Matters continues right after this. Still to come, let's continue talking about transportation. How about running a subway line from New York to New Jersey? A former transportation secretary tells us why that's a good idea when Jersey Matters continues.